In our huge family album, along with a lot of photos of all kinds, there was a piece of paper yellowed by time, on which my grandfather's hand had written a strange text. Here it is in full. The bearer of this document is Jozu, a resident of the village of Garancière. He is a boy of 15 years of age whom everyone knows, and who saved a U.S. Army infantryman, Raymond Miller, who was wounded near Garancière, by giving him first aid and preventing him from dying. The document was made in the woods near the village of Garancière and is authentic, of which I assure my friends. 08-23/1944, Infantryman of the 30th Infantry Division, Raymond Miller. At the bottom there was some scrawl and childish handwriting in French signed in one word, honest word. Unfortunately, this leaf has not survived to this day, but a long time ago, when my grandfather was still alive and with me as a boy looking through the photos in the album, we found this strange text. When asked, "What is it?" my grandfather told an amazing story. It was August 1944. The Allied armies were liberating France and moving towards the Seine. At a certain village of Garancière, the Germans threw selected troops into the attack. It was a real battering ram from the Germans, and our troops retreated with heavy losses. My grandfather was seriously wounded by a shrapnel, but it so happened that his own men in their haste forgot him on the battlefield. By some means, he managed to crawl to the nearest forest. I, grandson, was bleeding then, grandfather continued thoughtfully. The wound was heavy. I tried to bandage myself, and still I feel I won't live till morning. The blood is gushing. I lay in the grass, looking through the tree crowns at the sky. In my mind, I have already said goodbye to my relatives, to my son, your future father. I apologized to everyone and prepared for death. And apparently, my consciousness left me. I woke up in the afternoon when the sun was shining brightly, and I was surprised to find a boy of about 15 years old sitting next to me, whistling something carefree. He was puny and light-skinned. When he saw that I came to my senses, he smiled, showing the absence of two front teeth.
"Wake up! Here, drink some water."
And holding out a bottle of water, he helped me to sit up and lean my back against a tree. The wound hurt, but not so much.
"Don't worry, you'll live."
He smiled again, two mischievous dimples playing on his cheeks. "Who are you?" I asked.
"Me? I'm a local, from the village of Garancière."
"What are you doing here?"
"What do you mean?"
The boy was genuinely surprised.
"I'm helping you. I bandaged you up because you were about to die."
I noticed that my shoulder was covered with clean shreds from the sheet. There was a big bloody stain on the bandage. "Your English is good. How do you know it?" I asked, considering it was the first time I'd seen a French teenager with perfect English pronunciation.
"My aunt taught English in a neighboring village before the occupation. That's how I learned it."
The boy replied nonchalantly. "How long have you been here?"
"Nope."
The boy shook his head.
"I was running after the dog. It ran away from the rumble. So we ran into you."
Then I noticed that next to the boy lay a small, fluffy white dog.
"This is my Jacques."
My rescuer said lovingly, stroking the dog.
"My name is Josu myself. What's your name?"
"My name is Raymond. Where are the Germans, Jozu?"
"Where should they be? In the village. But they'll be gone one of these days."
He assured me. "Where did you get that information?" I involuntarily smiled at this confidence.
"So we know everything about everything here. It's not 1940 anymore. The Germans are fleeing on all fronts, from the Americans and the Russians."
There was something unusual about that boy, something subtly strange. I couldn't figure out what it was.
"You eat, Raymond. Jacques and I ran home while you were lying down, and I brought you some."
He spread a handkerchief on the grass, which contained 2 eggs, a piece of black bread, and 2 boiled potatoes.
"Here's a blanket to keep you warm at night. Eat, and I'll stay with you a little longer. Tomorrow I'll come again. I'll bring you something clean to bandage you."
"Where did you lose your teeth?" I asked, chewing potatoes.
"Oh, it's nothing. I got in a fight with the boys."
And Jozu waved his hand boastfully and a little carelessly.
"Well, Raymond, we better go, or my aunt will be worried. You lie here quietly. Don't make any noise. Tomorrow we'll visit you and we'll think about what to do next. But we have to hold on a little longer. Your men will be here soon."
And he and Jacques disappeared behind the trees. Josu's confidence made me feel better. I was chilled during the night, but by morning I felt better. My condition no longer seemed so hopeless. I had some confidence that with my little helper I would surely make it through. The next day, Jozu came alone. "Where's your Jacques?" The boy sniffed his nose, barely holding back tears.
They ran Jacques over, Raymond, with a motorcycle. He started barking stupid and they ran him over. The German is not the same as he was in 1940.
The boy said with his eyebrows furrowed like an adult.
The German has become evil. If he used to give candy, now he kicks us.
Jozu and I gave me a dressing. Then he laid out the food and sat next to me. "How are your parents? What do they do?" I asked. Jozu turned away and said in a trembling voice,
Father is left at the beginning of the war, so one letter only received from him. There was nothing else, no matter how much we waited. And my mom died a year ago. She worked too hard. She had a lump right here.
Jozu pointed to her stomach.
And her insides were very sore. She was screaming.
We didn't talk for a while.
Raymond, I have a favor to ask of you.
Which one? Tell me. I'll do anything. You're my savior. After he said that, the guy looked me in the eyes, strangely.
I need you to write me a document.
What kind of document? I was surprised.
Well, that I helped.
He hesitated.
Got you out of trouble.
What do you need it for? Besides, I don't even have any paper.
So I brought it.
The boy said slyly and took out a piece of paper. That's how this document was drawn up, grandson. And when I asked him, "What's your last name? What should I write?" He looked at me strangely again and said,
You don't need a surname. Everybody knows me.
When we formalized everything, Jozu looked at the document with admiration and carefully put it in his pocket. But after a little thought, he said,
No, Raymond, you keep this document for now. When your soldiers drive the Germans away, you'll give it back to me.
"Deal," I answered him. The boy returned the paper with regret and reluctance. The next day, Jozu did not come, though he had promised. I could get up by then and tried to get closer to the village. It turned out that it was already safe there. Our troops had liberated it in the morning. I started looking for Jozu, but he was nowhere to be found. I questioned the locals, explained what he looked like, what kind of white dog he had, what he was wearing, but Grandpa was silent for a long time. I even wondered if he had forgotten about me, so I started rubbing him.
Grandpa, well, what's up? What happened next? Did you find him?
"I'm just thinking, grandson." Grandpa ruffled my hair with the palm of his hand. "That's the thing. Nobody in the village knew any Jozu. There was no one who even looked like him.
How can that be? It can't be.
I've been puzzling over it myself for a long time." Grandpa shrugged his shoulders. But my savior had vanished into thin air. No one knew him, and no one had ever seen a boy like him before.
Maybe he was from a neighboring village?
I suggested timidly. That's just it. The nearest village was many miles away from Garancière. Major Brown, who then commanded the battalion that occupied the village, was also interested in this fact and ordered a detailed survey of all the inhabitants. No results, as if there was no Jozu. Then our troops went further east, and I was sent to treat my wound. And what is surprising, as they told me in the medical unit, I didn't have a shrapnel in my shoulder. It had already been removed from there earlier, and the first medical aid was given to me professionally. Otherwise, they said, you would have died of blood loss. I still don't know what kind of Jozu it was that kept me from dying in the woods back then. That's the story, grandson.